All right, guys, last I heard, Ashes of Creation hype was still being built up for Alpha 2, and the server meshing had been completed, or at least their design for it had been completed. But there seems to be some issues going on in the Ashes of Creation community. Let's see what's going on.
Hey, what up, boys? So, this one is pretty brutal. I don't think anyone expected the Alpha 2 to be delayed after Intrepid adamantly told us that they wouldn't. And today...
Ooh, Ashes of Creation Alpha 2 being delayed. That could be pretty significant, or at least significantly bad for the people who've bought into those keys. People are paying for these Alpha 2 access keys. So that would be really disappointing to be a player, a buyer, a supporter who bought into those Alpha 2 keys and hearing that the Alpha 2 had been delayed. That's pretty significant.
I want to discuss this. Therefore, you're required to sit back, relax, and grab yourself a Cola, because a lot of the people in the community have taken this news pretty badly.
Understandably so, for the reason I just mentioned. You're paying for the access to this. You're paying all this support for this team to be doing this stuff and creating this supposedly, really authentic and novel MMO experience, and then, to be part of the support and the building of that with Alpha 2, and to have it delayed. That's pretty sad, pretty annoying, I'm sure.
Understandably so. My philosophy when it comes to feedback, coverage, and discussions around this game, or in fact anything that I cover on this channel, is to cut the crap and say it like it is. And I like to think that I've built a community of people who are not necessarily fully connected to every aspect of the game, but are free to speak their mind, whether it's directly against my word or directly against the game's development.
Or people like me reacting to your content.
That is, of course, unless you catch me on a bad day, which evidently is most days. So, let's do that. Let's talk openly about our feelings towards Intrepid's most recent disappointing delay. Now, with all that bollocks out of the way, let's begin, shall we?
Communication disconnect. Some copium by the dented one. I have honestly really missed reacting to Narc's videos. I used to do this on the Hi Mr. Smiles channel, which is now the Cloudious Clips channel, and I'm happy to be back, Narc. You make some good videos. Let's do it.
So let's just get one thing straight before we get into this. Ain't nobody complaining that the Alpha 2 has been delayed by a month into Q4. The actual delay is not the problem people are disappointed with. If a delay...
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, 1 month, that shouldn't be that significant. If it was like half a year, or a year, or 2 years, I could understand people being pissed. But 1 month, yeah, that doesn't sound that bad. Let's see what he has to say about that. Why are people upset if it's only 1 month?
Delay is necessary. I'm sure anyone who is mildly interested in this project's success would support that for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
The problem comes with the way this information has been delivered to the community, and we spent the last couple of days discussing this and hearing out the community's concerns.
Okay.
Guys, do you think this AMA is going to be absolutely poggers? Do you reckon it's going to blow our brains out because we'll learn about the Alpha 2? What if he says that the Alpha 2 is launched? What if he tells us the Alpha 2 is like 6 biomes? What do you mean overwhelming no? Are you actually saying no because you've lost a lot of faith after this delay and you're in a Debbie Downer moment? Is that the reason why you're saying no? It's just because you've lost a lot of faith from the delay, a lot of trust. I mean, I don't blame you. I can't really.
Yeah, that seems to be a problem with this Ashes of Creation team, the Intrepid Studios and Steven Sharif. From everything I remember from the past videos that I reacted to, it does seem like they kind of overpromise or overhint when they could just withhold the hints. Like, you don't have to build up that much hype all the time. You can build up hype in segments and let the hype die off only to build it up again, keep people coming back. You don't have to keep everyone baited and hooked constantly, weekly or even daily. And I'm not saying they were doing it that badly, but, just to give an example, I think it's okay to let the hype die off a little bit and then build it back up, just to kind of reignite people like, oh yeah, that's right, Ashes of Creation. I kind of forgot about this. This is crazy. I really want to, get the fervor going all over again. That might even be healthier in a way to do it like that. Yeah, it's kind of a failed start to just trickle feed stuff and then those things not be followed through on, or dates be missed, or months be missed by a mile or something like that. And I'm not saying that happened here. It's only 1 month off. For whatever reason, they decided they weren't going to be ready for the Alpha 2 for the month that they said, and it's going to be 1 month delay. But just that kind of approach that they've had of like trickling out hints and trying to build up the hype constantly, I don't know that was the best approach if you can't hit on these hints, because people, they take these hints and they assume that that's going to be reality, and that's not the case all the time.
Really argue with that. Fair enough.
The saddest part around all this is that the Bard showcase itself was pretty damn great, with its spell effects, general direction, and implications for the other archetypes, as Intrepid have continued their work designing them during these last couple of years. But
that was really cool looking, by the way. Like cone of fire, essentially. That was sick. And this is the Bard? I didn't see this. I didn't see this showcase. That looks awesome.
we'll save Bard discussion for later in the month because I got some pretty interesting feedback that I want your guys' opinions on.
Looks like some buffs there. Bard's looking cool, that's for sure.
Getting back to the topic at hand, I just want to say, if you are disappointed in this news, then you have every right to voice this. Do not let people in this niche community silence your thoughts with peer pressure and downvotes through social media. There
Fair.
is a very loud, vocal minority in this community who blindly follow this project and think Intrepid are immune to criticisms because they're making the most perfect game in existence.
There's the vocal minority in any community. In the internet as a whole, there is a vocal minority, I think. It's always that 5% that yells and screams and throws a tantrum louder than the other 95% ever could even dream of doing. And so therefore they get heard the most and seem to be a majority, but far from it, they are not.
Even though, it doesn't exist yet. These are the type of people who ruined this genre as they silenced feedback and criticism that we tried to give developers in our favorite MMOs. And it's one of the most frustrating things about this genre, but that's a subject for another day. I think what's important when talking about this delay is what we expect from this project and evidently the Alpha 2 itself. Obviously, Steven's team are very talented and have shown some incredible progress over the last 3 years. We've gone from this absolutely unplayable piece of shite to what looks like something made by an actual Larian studio level team. A team.
Yes, indeed. Yes, as long as they're making improvements, as long as the game is looking better and better, in my opinion, I think it's okay that they miss a few deadlines. I'm not saying that missing deadlines is the end all. We can't trust Intrepid Studios, it's going to be a garbage game, something like that. If they're doing it all the time, you see 1 point on the graph, it's just a point, it's just a dot, it could be a blemish, it could be a mistake. But if you see multiple points on a graph, then that's a trend. So as long as we're not seeing this forever in the life of this creation of Ashes of Creation, I didn't mean to do that, but as long as we're not seeing this as a trend overall, I think it's okay. I think it's forgivable, and it's not even a big mistake, like 1 month, something was just barely off and they had to tweak something to make sure it was ready for the Alpha 2, that's understandable, that can be forgiven.
Team of people who are clearly switched on and care about the world and mechanics that they're designing. A few weeks ago, I myself predicted that Alpha 2 might get slightly delayed into October. So what should Intrepid do then? Delay till October, the first month of quarter 4? Well, despite everything Intrepid have said over the years about not wanting to give dates until they're 100% sure, yes, I think they should delay it. Not because it's not ready, but to give people a chance to try these other highly anticipated MMOs. The main reason for my decision on this matter was the recent announcement of other large MMORPGs announcing their dates, completely filling the schedule of quarter 3 this year. We have World of Warcraft's expansion coming in.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That is a fair point. You do not want to kind of overlap dates with other big titles. I've seen that happen with a couple of other playtests recently. I can't remember exactly what game it was. Maybe it was Marvel Rivals, but no, that one had a decent player count, but even that wasn't as high as I would have thought. When I looked, I saw like 50,000 players on the playtest, and with a big name like Marvel, and them obviously trying to make a competitor to Overwatch, so, a big deal, a big 5v5 competitor to Overwatch from Marvel. I guess I would have thought it would have been in the 6 figures, but yeah, I don't know. these overlapping dates are a very serious thing that should be taken seriously. I do agree with what Narc's saying. If there are kind of conflicts with other titles that are doing dates in quarter 3, then quarter 4 is a safe bet.
In August, and Throne and Liberty releasing in September. 2 games that will dominate their months simply because, you know, they're new releases. However, in the comments of my video, there was quite a lot of pushback from people who I consider to be part of that as aforementioned loud vocal minority. I believe these types of comments actively hurt Ashes of Creation's development due to their blind belief that Intrepid can deliver a flawless project without any successful live service experience. Let's be honest, Alpha 1 was extremely amateur, barely 10% of the scope Alpha 2 is going to be, and APOC was a disaster. Intrepid Studios may have designed a great game through the lens of a monthly showcase, but they have no real live service experience, and this is going to be the major challenge Intrepid will face during Alpha 2's launch.
Yeah, and it's been a path, it's been a journey, you know. And of course, they had to have those steps where everything didn't look polished and the game was rough and people didn't necessarily love the gameplay. But just to kind of iron things out, and as long as they had the vision and they were sharing that vision, then the hype could still be there and people could still be excited and want to follow through to the end here. And so, well, I mean, we're not at the end, but you get what I'm saying. Follow through to this point. And so, yeah, it is going to be a big journey here, a big milestone, and hopefully a big accomplishment if it's a successful and fluid and like awesome experience in this Alpha 2 for people, at least with where the game's at right now. Obviously, it's not finished. There can be more polish that can be added. There can be more systems, and you know, the game can be fleshed out a lot more. But let's really hope that Ashes of Creation Alpha 2, fingers crossed, doesn't have any big overlaps with other big titles like we're talking about. You know, maybe go into Q4 if you really need to. And yeah, let's hope it's a good experience for people and that the team can learn a lot and even, you know, iron out the game even more from there.
Why the fuck would Steven Sharif want to share the game that he spent the last 8 years of his life and majority of his wealth on with another big release in the same month?
Same.
That is just nonsense.
I mean,
and
agreed.
An extremely poor business decision to anyone who can think logically, and evidently, Steven himself agrees.
I know that I was watching, you know, kind of in Discord and across the community, you know, different thoughts about other games that have releases in August and in September.
Yeah.
Did we take into account that around Alpha 2? I mean, obviously we take a lot of things into account, right? When we are determining when we're going to do certain days. Those were definitely taken into account, but, you know, also at the same time, when it comes to stability, when it comes to the polish that we want the intro to Alpha 2 have, October landed around that time frame.
It's a shame.
I mean, it just makes sense. That just makes logical sense. Why wouldn't you take a time slot that is more available? You know, you don't want to be competing with other big name titles when people are obviously going to have their biases, their preferences. So someone on the fence, right? They're like, I kind of like MMOs. I kind of like the idea of Ashes of Creation, but I love, you know, well, for example, Marvel Rivals that I used earlier. I'm not saying that that's going to be a clash or anything. I'm just giving that example. Like, well, I love the idea of Marvel Rivals, so if I'm picking between Ashes of Creation or Marvel Rivals, I'm going to do that. You know, you wouldn't want that conflict. You want to have that open slot, really open, so that people are picking your game to try and hopefully love and then carry over to when it's actually released, right?
Shame that people can't see that and continue to try and lead Intrepid into a false sense of success based on nothing. So I'll ask you a question. What's more important to you as a follower of Ashes of Creation? Do you want the best for Intrepid as they gather data from very involved people burnt out from the dog shite that is Throne and Liberty or World of Warcraft? People who are desperate for a good MMO? Or do you want Intrepid to compromise their one and only chance to show the world what the last 8 years of growth and development have produced? Just because you don't care about Throne and Liberty or World of Warcraft doesn't mean the millions of people who do don't deserve a chance to see Steven Sharif's vision during the launch of its Alpha 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what do we really want here? Do we want Ashes of Creation to have the best chance possible at a really nice, really fluid, and really full, full player count Alpha 2? Yes, because it gives it the best chance at a really successful release as well.
This kind of mentality really pisses me off, and I genuinely wish people would actually listen to the things that I present in the script that I spend hours researching, because my intent here is to help Intrepid make the best decisions through feedback received by a wider audience. And what feedback is that, I hear you ask? Well, ultimately, I think the major issue with this news being received so poorly is something we discussed a few months ago now, and a subject that I was shunned for by these vocal minorities. The communication between Intrepid and us as an audience is absolutely not acceptable for the ambitious goals this project is trying to achieve.
Yeah, don't listen to the vocal minority, Narc. Just don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. They're high on their own special shade of copium, okay? Just don't listen to them.
This project has always been about open development, but up until about 8 months ago, something changed, and I don't know why. Communication is a key factor for this game's success, and
yeah, and the way that they've always, marketed or shared that they would be is, we're going to be so open with our audience. We want to bring in the audience. We want the audience to be involved. I'm sorry, the audience, the players, whatever you want to say. We want our stakeholders, our players, to be involved, and it's strange that they're changing that approach now, so late in the game here, too. Hopefully there are not major problems going on within the studio shaking things up. Hopefully not. That could bode ill for Ashes of Creation.
The fact that we're receiving this information, the live stream after they just told everyone that they were absolutely still confident in quarter 3, is just fucked up.
Yeah.
Alpha 2 coming up, third quarter this year, and we are still on schedule for that date. I'm still confident that we're going to hit our third quarter date.
We are still entirely confident in our plan for a Q3 Alpha 2.
Something's gone.
I like the wording there. Still confident in our plan. So that guy was smart. He covered himself. He did a little CYA. So that was his way of saying that things could change, and indeed they did. They should have done that for every statement, or they should have just given a statement once and then given an update when they realized that, things were going to change. I don't know. Just the continual promise and then breaking it at the end, it's kind of rough. Yeah, it's kind of rough.
Wrong here, and communication should not be handled this way. Intrepid have multiple, highly active social media channels through Twitter, Discord, and their forums, where news like this can get conveyed correctly. Hell, we even have a bunch of very willing content creators who will jump at the chance to spread any news that you want for free, yet they choose not to utilize this.
Maybe their community manager got fired or maybe quit recently. Maybe that's why things are kind of falling apart, because they don't have a dedicated person kind of managing all this stuff right now. And someone else is like juggling multiple hats, and they're too busy with their main role, so they're just kind of dropping the ball on the community management side. You never know. That's just the thing that comes to mind.
Intrepid needs to get a grip on its communication, because they've completely lost it, and nobody knows what the hell is going on with this project anymore. This is why I think this upcoming AMA is a very good decision, and I hope this is the start of some much needed change, and in fact, part of your long-term plan.
Yes, just get back to the openness. This is a great idea as well. I mean, I agree. It's a great idea. Ask me anything, Stephen Sharif. Give us some answers. That's what we want. Just be open. That's what we want, especially with that being your initial promise for the, kind of design goal of this game, to be so open, to be designing kind of in coordination with your community. Yeah, get back to that. We need to know what's going on, man. Answer our questions. So yeah, this is a good decision.
It's just a real shame that Intrepid let a delay happen before implementing it, and this is the very thing that I was afraid of when I made that video a few months ago. People have lost trust in the things that are being said.
Yeah.
We're getting a roadmap, but is that really going to hold any validity now? You've spent these last few years telling us what you think we want to hear, but what we actually want is nothing but truth, facts, and conviction. And if this upcoming AMA doesn't present that, then you're in some serious danger of dropping the ball so close to the finish line.
Seriously. Yeah. Don't drop the ball now. We're so close, man. I look at the game in its current state, and it's very close to Alpha 2 state. And I want to be excited. Like, I see these visuals and they look appealing, the spell effects and everything. I mean, it's looking pretty good. Like, it looks like an experience that I'd probably have fun playing. I don't know until I've actually played it, of course, but it looks like it could be fun. And so you have potential there. Just get back on track. interface with your audience like you promised initially. Just keep that up, keep the transparency there, while also maybe adjusting your overpromise and underdeliver attitude so far, or behavior so far.
The reason a lot of us are so involved with this project, even though it doesn't exist, is because of how forthcoming your communication was back in 2020 and 2021.
Right.
Literally years leading into your Alpha 1 tests. We loved this aspect of Intrepid Studios because it made you unique, it made you approachable to the layman, but most importantly, it made you feel human. Once a month showcases are fine and really help to give us updates on your game, but these updates are extremely curated and most of the time leave us with more questions than answers.
Yeah.
Questions that you cannot answer simply because you don't utilize your well-established communication channel.
It might be rough and it might be stressful, but maybe more of these AMAs, like more often, maybe that would be helpful. You have your curated whatever showcase, and then right after you have an AMA, or maybe the next day or the next week or something like that, because you need that transparency, especially for the reasons that Narc is talking about. This project technically doesn't exist, until it's fully released. So it's all just kind of a, floating around idea in the ether for most of us. And so the only way we can stay invested or stay hyped up about it is to get information from you guys. Just be honest and show us what's going on. Even if there's problems, maybe we should know that, so we can kind of know what to expect. We can temper. We can temper our expectations for, what's going on.
Believe it or not, that's what we all crave as jaded MMORPG gamers. A team who actually care and communicate with us like human beings, not a faceless, nameless corporation who present bullet points of very select, curated news.
Yes.
We, your audience, can handle any kind of news that you give us.
Exactly.
And we will support you, even through the negativity, but not when it's given to us moments after telling us that everything is going perfectly fine.
Exactly. The transparency, that's what wins people over. When it feels like you're not hiding anything and you're just showing us, like, hey, it's a work in progress. This is going wrong. This is going right. Hope you guys, enjoy and are still invested. Boom. That goes way better than, hey, here's this curated experience. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
But as usual, I am just one nerd desperate for a good MMO, and my opinion means nothing without yours in the comments below. If you're looking for some more balanced, albeit unhinged discussion about a game that quite literally doesn't exist, come join us over at twitch.tv/Narcoverse because I'm high on copium.
Yep. You guys heard it. That's Narc. Go check out his channel. Check out his Twitch channel as well if you're interested. And yeah, he makes great videos. That was awesome. Good update there. Good to know what's going on. Wait, did he just... Oh, no. Yeah, that's the same. Yeah, so really interesting update there. Good to know that Ashes of Creation hasn't just died while I've been gone and not checking in on it. But looks like it's getting a little rough. They're losing kind of vision of the goalpost a little bit, maybe, or at least straying from their path that they had laid out for themselves initially. That transparency maybe is a little lost now. Hopefully they can get back to that, like we're talking about with the AMAs. The AMA is a good step in that direction. Just be honest with your community, guys. We don't have the game in our hands, so the best thing you can do is just show us everything. If you really want us to be excited for your game and be invested, show us everything. Show us what's going on. And we'll be there for you, That's exactly what Like Narc was saying. Great video, guys. I really appreciated that. And hopefully, Ashes of Creation gets back on track. Thanks for watching.